The 4 days of the India-Pakistan conflict, although tragic for many, resulted in a trove of data invaluable to military experts and planners in world capitals. Now, the conflict between the two South Asian nuclear neighbors saw military systems manufactured across the world, including in China, France, Israel, and Turkey, go up against each other in real combat conditions. So, what has the India-Pakistan war revealed about modern arsenals? I'm Divya Gopalan, and you're watching Connected on TaiwanPlus. To explore what we've learned about military technology, I am joined from the Western Indian city of Nagpur by the former Vice Chief of Air Staff of the Indian Air Force, Air Marshal Shirish Deo, and from Finland's capital, Helsinki, Anshu Chakraverty, a geostrategic expert and entrepreneur. He's also the founder of Metis Janus, a company specializing in space and defense technologies. Thank you both so much for being part of this program. I'm going to start with you, Anshu. Before we go into the specifics, can you give us a brief overview of the different types of weapons from different types of countries, or the different countries we've seen that were involved in this conflict?
Well, thank you, Divya, for having me on the show. And before I start on the technical aspects of the weapon systems, we need to bear in mind that warfighting is not an end, but a means to an end. So essentially, we are striving for a greater geostrategic outcome. So that is the intent of doing warfighting, and that's how you use and deploy different tactics and different strategies. So maybe I'd like to allate to the recent India-Pakistan conflict, and what a couple of things that we observed from this conflict is that not only were there multiple layered systems used and different technologies, but also it was globalization. So you had, French systems, you had American systems, Israeli systems, Chinese systems, Turkish systems, and indigenous domestic systems, both by Pakistan and India. And to add to this entire mix was a whole array of not only the different kinds of technologies used, but also a whole array of tactics and strategy. So for India side, you see the cold start doctrine in use, and on the side of Pakistan, you can see their nuclear deterrence and threats being called out and completely negated. So having said that, from the Indian side, you could see the BrahMos supersonic cruise missile systems being used, which were very effective. We didn't move on to the hypersonic category because this was not a full spectrum.
I'm going to stop you right there, Anshu. I just want to, basically, we do want to go into more of the specifics a little bit later. I just wanted a quick overview of what we were seeing just from the outset. And on that note, Air Marshal Deo, you have thousands of flight hours under your belt. You have been in combat yourself. For you, what was the biggest revelation from this conflict that you saw in terms of how it was fought?
Well, there are always lessons to be learned from every conflict, but we must remember from a technical and tactical perspective, all these lessons, all the rules and laws that evolve in any conflict, they still are within the bounds of laws of nature. They're within the bounds of laws of physics. So lots of stuff that has been going around, as to what Chinese weapons have done and all, that seems to be beyond what is possible within laws of physics. So this is the first thing that I want to tell you. That similar thing happened in Yom Kippur. Okay, similar thing happened in Ukraine for some time. So this war is no different. To my mind, this war is different in terms of political intent, in terms of sheer audacity of India's decision makers to take on targets across the IB. So lessons, of course, there are technical and tactical lessons in every conflict, and like any professional force, we learn our lessons. Okay, we know that we didn't do so well against the Chinese in '62. Since then, we have been evolving. And our forces are not under any compulsions not to learn the lessons, but to, focus on social media. That's not what's done in our case. We're a professional force. So surely there are lessons to be learned for everybody. But the most important lesson is that audacity pays, fortune favors the brave. And that is what we have learned. So more than, like you said in the second session, we will discuss the technical issues. But at a strategic level, audacity pays, and we have taught Pakistan a big lesson. And we also, we are also called upon their nuclear blackmail.
Okay, so Anshu, you specialize in defense technologies. How would you evaluate this four-day clash as far as modern warfare goes?
There were a couple of very key takeaways from this conflict. So one of the things from a tech perspective we saw is that the calibrated escalation, which was practiced by the Indian forces and by the political establishment of India, was very precise and very targeted, and it was using the plethora of its technologies, including precision strike BrahMos missiles, and then using the beyond visual range missile systems fired from Mirage 2000s using Scalp, e.g. Storm Shadow cruise missiles, which are French. And then at the same time, when there was a further calibrated escalation from the Pakistani side, with the drone swarm. So the Indians made use of the full use of the EWS suites and of the Israeli Harop systems to then counter it. And we used the HPM, the high power, and possibly infrared technology to counter them. We used Akash missile systems, which were surface to air, indigenously developed. And these were all used in a calibrated escalation matrix, unlike the other side, which was doing a bit of a mindless application and targeting civilian infrastructure, whereas the Indian strikes and calibrated escalation was very, very targeted, using all these plethora of technologies. And one key factor which came out very convincingly was that the Bayraktar systems which were being tested and used by the Pakistani side did not come through, and they did not meet the expectations, and they failed. However, to their benefit, what happened was their intrusion capabilities and thereby the mapping, which can thereafter later be used for strategic deployments, was successful to a certain degree on the Pakistani side.
Right. And to about that mapping, I do want to address that in a little bit. But before I go to that, Air Marshal Deo, you've done, you as a combat veteran who has been in the air, who has been an integral part of physical conflict. What do you make of this new kind of drone warfare that we're seeing?
So this drone warfare that you see, particularly what Pakistani did, it was, I can only paraphrase British Prime Minister who said it's like being savaged by dead sheep. That really didn't make any difference at all. Okay, these drones that they used were quadcopters that didn't work out. Okay, we have such a strong air defense that starts from AL-70 to Shilkas. All these are radar-guided guns. To Shilkas, to Quadrat, to Pechoras, to Tungushkas, followed by Spydaf, followed by Akash, followed by LR Saham, followed by MR Saham, and then eventually S-400. It's very difficult to get in. It's just a matter of physics. It's difficult to overwhelm the system. And this is all, tied up in ISCCS, which is a system that ties up weapon systems and radars, and also then airborne aircraft with very long-range weapons. And long-range weapons, which have been proven, it's not like the PL-15 that were fired at DMAX-1, and we have got now, thanks to overeager Pakistanis, we have got complete system which which didn't explode, which didn't have self-destruction. Okay,
Yes.
so we're thankful to them, okay, for letting us have this PL-15s, okay, which fell off well short of the target.
Right. So in that case, what did we learn about those PL-15s? What did we learn about, given that this conflict not only exposed what India and Pakistan had, but also all the countries combined that were creating the bigger weapon system, which included China, which made those PL-15s, and the J-10C jets that carried them. So what do we know, Air Marshal, about what they have now and how effective the Chinese weaponry is?
Well, what I read on the social media is, because social media is what has been quoted by their defense minister and their DG ISPR and all. Everybody is quoting social media. So on social media, I'm told that the Pakistanis are very happy with the weapon systems that Chinese have supplied. And I would like to go on record here to say that we are also very happy with the Chinese and North Korean weapon system that Pakistan is using. We are, we are quite happy that Pakistan can't afford anything else. And here, what we found that it's just basic physics. You have a missile that has got a range of 143 kilometers, and you've got to stick your neck out to make sure that the missile is useful. You don't want to stick your neck out and you want to launch your missile at D-max 1 and hope that you'll get a kill. That is very, very rare that you'll get a kill at D-max 1. Okay, you have a missile to spare. D-max 1 means if a target is not maneuvering, it maintains a constant flight path, and that is some range. That's called D-max 1 range, where just about touching the missile envelope. You got to let the target come inside the missile envelope and then launch a missile. In order to do that, you need tactics, that are significantly better than what the Pakistanis have employed till now. For that, you need to stick your neck out. You need to be able to take attrition. But this is what they did in 71 also. They never flew. Pakistan Air Force doesn't fly. As soon as they understand that if they get into a full-scale combat as an Air Force, they will not last for far too long. And they would like to preserve their assets, and more importantly, they would like to say, okay, we were not entirely decimated. So therefore, they don't fly, and therefore they don't take any risks when they fly. Okay, as a fighter pilot, it's all about being aggressive. It's all about taking a chance, sticking your neck out, which Pakistanis don't do. And if you're using weapons that you're trying to just sort of launch those weapons and the limits of that envelope, then success is very difficult to get. It's not assured. So that is what we learned, and we also learned from the Pakistanis that their resolve, their ability to absorb damage, that is limited. This ceasefire has come through. Okay, I don't know. Surely there was a request from their side, but this request, to my mind, was sort of underlined with this, what you hear about nuclear radiation. We didn't target any nuclear facilities. And to start crying that our nuclear facilities have been hit and there is a nuclear radiation leak and there is no way that this conflict can continue. Okay, to our mind, this is just Pakistan's strategy to save face and to stop being entirely decimated. Because almost 20% of the Air Force, we can take out in one day. So just a question of 3-4 days, whether it's on ground or in the air, if we put our mind to it. Pakistan saw that in the second escalation that happened. The first escalation was that they targeted our military sites. And we very clearly told them, see, we have nothing about Pakistani public in general and military in particular. But these people who have been, sort of killing our innocent people, okay, we want to target those guys. And so we took out, the only difference here was that Pakistan didn't expect that we would reach Bahawalpur, 130 kilometers inside. Mm-hmm. And we took out Bahawalpur, we took out Muridke, and we took out a camp near Sialkot. So this was certainly an escalation in a sense, sense earlier we had gone only in POK.
Okay.
After that, they attacked our airfields. They tried to engage our aircraft. And the next escalation was from our side. Okay, and that escalation was so severe, and it really shocked Pakistanis. And they made sure that they fabricated this story of nuclear radiation leak, and international community will be,
all right.
will be aghast.
If I may jump in, apologies. I want to bring it back to step back from the strategy and then go back. Let's go back into the weaponry. And I want to post this for Anshu to ask you your thoughts on the weapons that China supplied, and in particular the ones that Air Marshal Deo was mentioning, the PL-15 missiles. What do we know about the technology now that China has, given what we've seen?
HQ9-P and LY-80, which is the HQ-16, which is the medium range. The long range was HQ-9, and the short range was the HQ-7. And over and above that, they had the PL-15, which were, air-to-air missiles. They had the CM-401 missiles, which were anti-ship and land attack, which could also be repurposed. And then, they had the Abdali weapon system, which was a surface-to-surface ballistic missile. And then they deployed the SH-15, the 155mm self-propelled howitzers, which is Chinese. And, they have their own EWS suite. So having said that, despite this plethora of their systems, almost all of it is untested. And because they've not, they do not undergo the stringent international criteria, so they did not do an effective countermeasure for the Indian attack. So it did not strike home where it was supposed to be, unlike the systems which the Indian forces used at this juncture.
Right. Air Marshal Deo, I want to touch on and go back to something you'd mentioned and build on that. The New Delhi-based Center for Joint Warfare Studies now says that China helped Pakistan reorganize its radar and air defense systems to more effectively detect India's troops and weaponry. Now, how concerned should we be about this? And does India have their own counter in detection as we go kind of the next level beyond the weapons?
Yeah, yes, sure, we do. In fact, we have Pakistan completely covered from space and from sky. It's not a very large country, it's a very small country compared to India. It's not difficult to monitor every square kilometer of Pakistan, and that's already being done. And yes, these systems are quite mobile. That's a lesson that is learned. Okay, with this system like HQ9, even S-400, it's so mobile that when you actually put it to practice, okay, there is always an element of surprise. Oh, we can do this too. Similarly, surely Pakistanis also must be moving their HQ9s around. But what we have is a very potent anti-radiation system against HQ9. And it's not only Israeli system, Harop and Harpies. We have our own system that is developed that is optimized for HQ9 and other missiles. So these systems are very effective. These systems are very difficult to stop. They're hypersonic missiles, okay, that have a range of almost between 350 to 550 kilometers, depending on the warhead. And these missiles we didn't use this time. Okay, these missiles are still, there's a surprise waiting for Pakistan. So I think it was a very considered decision by the government that at this level of engagement, there is really no need to bring out the big stuff. And even their radars too, okay, were not targeted. We targeted their weapons. If we target their surveillance radars, if we target their AWACS, and AWC was targeted, it was collateral damage actually. It was on the ground, it happened to be in the hangar, and that's how they lost their AWC. But insofar as full air defense network is concerned, the air defense network that Pakistan has got and which has been reorganized by China, okay, that can still be targeted by weapons that we have.
Which technology do you think proved the most effective in the recent India-Pakistan war? Let us know in the comments below. Click the video beside me for a discussion of what the world and Taiwan can learn from the combat debut of India and China-made missiles. And subscribe to our channel and click the notification bell if you don't want to miss more stories on tech and business from Taiwan.